Surviving infidelity. This is an update to a post from a week ago, link in the card at the top corner or in the description for the first part of the story. Now for the update. Confronted her today. I've never seen someone implode like this. A heads up, I began writing this the day it happened and I'm not rewriting it, so if some of my feelings don't reflect exactly what my comments were saying in the last couple of days, that's why. I've got some work to do today, so I might not respond to anything for quite some time. I never want to go through anything like this ever again. This was the single most difficult thing I've ever had to do, and I'm twitching like a tweaker every so often now. She left for either work or Chris's today, not really sure where she went, but she was gone. Tried to check her location, and either she turned off locations, or my phone was giving me issues. I didn't have the means to serve her, that comes later this week, but I had to confront her before she realized what I was doing so she wouldn't have any more time to formulate some working lies. Heard my garage door opening and turned on the camera on. She comes in completely oblivious. I tell her she ought to sit down because we've got to talk. Deer in the headlights look, but she sits down and asks me what's wrong. I ask, why don't you tell me? She plays dumb but I see she knows she's been found out. She asks me again what's wrong. I ask her what's really up with Chris, she says nothing, she hasn't heard from him. I redirect and decide to not confront her as directly, and tell her that I'm uncomfortable with her working with him, and that it's not something I can get past. She's 100% instantly agreeable, and asks me very nervously why I changed my mind so quick, and why I'm acting the way I am. I just shake my head and say something like, I wanted to be understanding about it, but I got weird vibes from him and I'd prefer they wouldn't talk. She insists that he doesn't mean anything to her anymore, that she was just happy to see the book get made. I told her that he basically stole from her and she's being way too understanding about that fact. That she ought to sue him over it, and she agrees with me. By now she's probably thinking she got out of this, and is going to break it off with Chris the minute she gets a second to do so. But then I tell her the whole thing has really stressed me out, and I'm going to take next week out of work. I tell her that I talked with my ex and she agreed to keep my son that weekend so I could go to Vegas with her. That's why I was talking to my ex for so long the other day, working out the details of her taking my son, or at least that's what I'd have her think. Deadpan stare. I start talking about how COVID has shut down a lot of stuff, and I'm not even sure what's open in Vegas. She cuts me off and tells me that it was actually canceled today. The conversation from here on goes like this. Paraphrased of course. Me, it got canceled last month. Her, no, he told us today because he wasn't sure whether or not it was off until today. I know it got canceled last month. Her, what are you doing? Why are you telling me you want to go and then telling me it's canceled? I don't get what you're doing. It was canceled last month. What were you going to do if I didn't ask about it? Her, you're freaking me out. It was canceled today. What were you going to do in town name where her hotel is? Her, what are you accusing me of? How long have you and Chris been back together? Her, we haven't done anything. Did he tell you we were? Don't lie to me. I don't want to read off everything he texted, it almost made me throw up doing it the first time. I can't believe you do this. Her, I love you, I'm sorry, he's been texting me a lot lately and saying a lot of messed up stuff, and I don't know how to deal with it. I wanted to tell you this, but I was afraid you'd do what you're doing now. I was just hoping he'd stop on his own. You didn't see him for 8 years, and 20 minutes after he got off the plane, you slept with him. Her, what plane? What are you reading? He lives on street name, you want to stop this? Just admit what you did so we can move forward with this. Why did you tell me he lived in the East Coast? Her, did he say something to you? He lies constantly, it's part of the reason why we broke up. I told you that. I knew I shouldn't have responded to his messages, it's always drama with him. All his messages were fine, but he started with the missing me stuff again like always. I was going to tell you. He wanted you to come home and kiss me after you were going down on him. I read your messages, I saw them in your email and in your texts. You're cheating on me and I want you out of this house today. Her, what? I'm not cheating on you. If you don't want him around, I'll tell him to get lost, but honey I'm not cheating on you. Is that what he told you? He's lying. Stop it. I told you I went in your messages on your phone. You're going to get your stuff and you're going to go to your parents. I made copies of your emails and screenshots from your texts. I don't want to show them what you two say to each other. But if you're going to keep lying to my face, I will. We're done, go get your stuff. She tried even in the face of all that to play stupid and lie, But finally tired of it, I broke out my copies of their texts and handed them to her. She looked at them for 2 seconds and then broke down, crying hard. Like I've never seen her this devastated by anything. I even felt bad for her for a little while. She said she was sorry, that it got out of hand and she wanted to put the brakes on it, but he had gotten possessive, and was threatening to expose her if she ended it with him. I told her that none of that was in their texts, and that she's still lying to me. She was going to go off and spend the weekend with him. She then told me it's done between them, and she'll make him go away, she won't ever talk to him again. I told her I don't care what she does, but I've been talking to a lawyer and the divorce papers will be ready soon. At this point, she explodes and repeats, "You've been talking to a lawyer?" Like 4 or 5 times, and honestly, I was ready to call the cops because she's closing in on me and really screaming now. I tell her to calm down, that I have a camera going. She then continues to break down and not resemble anyone I've ever met before. Kept saying stuff like, "You just planned all this out." Smiling to my face, just planning this all out. Which every time she did, I responded with the same, "Well, look at what you've been planning," and smiling to my face, "while you're out doing XX." I asked her why she'd do this to us, and at first, she couldn't give me a straight answer. She tried to tell me it was meaningless intercourse, so I responded with, "Oh, so you ruined us for no reason, then that's great." After a bit, she sort of got quieter, and I don't know if she was being honest, or just trying to hurt me, but apparently, she really messed up with him in her eyes. She called him her soulmate and I nearly started breaking stuff. I asked her why she just didn't ditch me for him in the beginning. I would have understood then, and she says she just needed to get away from him because she knew how bad she'd look to her family if she brought him back around. Apparently, they didn't like him either. She also said that she could never, and can never, actually be with him because her ex and daughter would fight her on this. So, going back to him legitimately was never an option. She then said she was sorry, and seemed to be in disbelief with how final I was with everything. She told me how much of a mistake it was, how much she would change and do whatever I wanted her to, just to fix the situation. I told her no. She then told me we aren't getting a divorce because she can make amends for this. I told her there was nothing she could do to earn my forgiveness. I will not forgive this ever, and somehow, she had the gall to be shocked by this. I told her then I opened an account in another bank and moved half from the joint account into it this morning and that the rest is hers. She can either get it herself, or I can get it for her, but the account is getting closed. She just nodded along and said we'd probably both have to go to the bank together to close it. She went and started packing her clothes up, peacefully, crying a little, and oddly enough, making threats every so often that she had better not have anything missing. I let it roll off my shoulder and told her to take pics of how she left her things and daughter's things, so when she comes back, she'll see I didn't touch anything. Her folks had been contacted and they're in disbelief. They're both surprised that Chris is even a factor in any of this, and spent time apologizing to me, and soon after, she was out of my house. The next day, soon-to-be ex hit my phone with so many "I love you, I'm sorry, we can fix this" texts, that I contemplated flushing my phone. I wanted to just turn it off, but my ex-wife had my son, so I needed it on just in case of an emergency or a change in plans when he was coming home. So, I just started responding to her texts by sending screenshots of the worst parts of their conversation, and saying nothing of my own. Ex returned with my son and brought dinner from my favorite Chinese place. I didn't give my son the exact reason when I told him, but he asked flat out whether she cheated because it was so sudden, and I told him he was right without elaborating. They stayed for a while before returning home and I've just been kind of floating around the house trying to keep it together. It's like 2 or 3 days since I began writing this, and I'm off to the gym and then my lawyers. This thing is already way too long, and things are updating so rapidly that I could be typing forever and never finish. My soon-to-be ex's ex-husband is going to come by and collect his daughter's things, and I'll explain to her the best I can that if she ever needs me, I'm just a phone call away. I'm also contemplating telling her ex that she ran around with Chris on him as well, because she said many times he doesn't know. But maybe I won't, that accomplishes nothing really. Anyway, first fight has been fought, and it looks like I'm winning as much as one can win given the circumstances. Part of me wants to confront Chris, but I'm smart enough that all that would be a waste of time and energy. Time better spent working or hitting the gym, or finding some way to thank my ex-wife for being an absolute MVP in my corner through this. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Sorry if this is disjointed, but it's taken me a couple days to write and of course developments keep happening. Now for the top comments. Hey man, let me tell you something. You're badass. I know it hurts, and you will still need time to grieve properly and overcome this by yourself. But, to be honest, I think the worst part is over. You stood your ground, loved yourself first, had self-respect first. You didn't do anything you might regret, even though that after reading the messages, you might as well have done. Best of luck, you got this. I agree. Also, he was right to tell his son about the cheating in a simple and direct way. So his son learns that cheating is not acceptable, and he won't tolerate it later in life. I'm always fascinated by the actual pull one person can have over another. That would make someone completely destroy their lives for a taste. Been following from other thread. I will say again, you need to tell stepdaughter's dad. Soon-to-be ex clearly stated that he and daughter would never accept Chris. There is a reason. But that is the whole reason this is happening. Her mom lied and destroyed her life. Be truthful and honest first to the point of it hurting hard now, but daughter will thank you and trust you, as well as her dad. If soon-to-be ex lies that much to you, she will lie to them, a lot. Be honest. It's your best thing right now. It will only help your stepdaughter. If you lie or keep something from her, then she will trust no one. Good luck. If I were OP, I would wait till the divorce is finalized, and then tell the stepdaughter's dad. Part of me wants to confront Chris, but I'm smart enough that all that would be a waste of time and energy. The guy is a complete worm. Why soil the bottom of your boot with his entrails, and possibly get a police record? Not worthy of even an afterthought. I was tempted to say there is no winning in these things, only surviving it with different levels of burn wounds, but getting past her betrayal and back on track to a good, rewarding life, is definitely a victory. Now for the next story. Going through 2 emotional affairs and 1, maybe 2 physical affairs. A brief backstory. I, 41 mil, have been married for 20 years, and have 3 wonderful kids, 16, 14, and 12, with my wife, 40 female. About 10 years ago, she put me through an emotional affair which ended up as a physical affair with her high school ex-boyfriend. After a very hard road to recovery, I ended up moving past that event and gave our relationship another chance. She assured me that it was finished, and was very sorry and remorseful. Fast forward to December 2019, and again, my wife went through another emotional affair with a guy. This time he was out of country, with the excuse that he is someone that needs help, since he is going through depression and has self-ending thoughts. I called BS, since she never mentioned him until I stumbled upon the texts, chats, and social media interactions between the two, and they were not the kind of chats that is of someone helping another. I separated from my wife, as I made clear that she violated my trust a second time, and also was not remorseful whatsoever for what she did. Over the fall, she mentioned that she wanted to clear her mind and left to go overseas. I learned through my kids. Where did she go? You got it, the same country where the guy was living. She spent a few weeks there, and when she came back, she wanted to try to mend things between us. I'm assuming she didn't find in him what she was looking for. I have been now made into an option B. Which brings us to present day. She has been asking to give her another chance. I have stated to her that there are no more chances to give, and we will be divorcing. I have already filed. I don't have any more feelings for her after becoming a betrayed spouse for the second time. My post here really is about surviving with kids. I was really broken down, emotionally, suicidal thoughts, depression, etc. But I am damn scared for my kids' future. I love them to death. A part of me thinks they will now have a broken home, and a part of me says that they are already part of a broken home due to her actions. I have never cheated on my wife before, neither emotional affair nor physical affair. She was my first kiss, my first love. Obviously had dreams of growing old together. Maybe that is what bothers me the most, of being taken advantage of, after putting so much effort into a relationship, but not receiving on the other end. And I think I deserve better, just the helplessness of my kids breaks me down sometimes. My oldest is autistic, and changes have a huge impact on his emotional well-being. I don't care that she will end up with half of everything. I'm not a materialistic person, but I now will most likely just get to see my kids half the time as well, and that bothers me. As stupid as it sounds while I write this, I sometimes get the feeling that maybe it's better for the kids if we try to mend things again. Now for the top advice. You want to know what I say to people when they're going to have 50-50 custody? Be twice the parent you are now when you have them. Give them all the love and support you can, and I promise you they will be fine. And you will find happiness as well. Your wife doesn't deserve your love. There is someone out there waiting for you, and one day, you will find her. Good luck, OP. Exactly, take that love you had for your wife and pour it into your kids. And with time, you will find a beautiful woman who will give you the love that you deserve. Thanks, man. I always have, and will always love and support my kids to the best of my ability. I appreciate the sentiment. I also think a strong support system is important. My whole immediate family moved overseas in the last couple of years, so there really isn't anyone around me that I can talk to. I will be seeking out an individual counselor very shortly as well. Yes, it's the sad reality of the situation. All you can do is create a stable environment for the kids, try to be as amicable in divorce as possible. Especially around the kids. Never disparage your soon-to-be ex-wife around the kids. Consider family therapy with you and the kids if you think they're acting out. I'm really sad to hear your story. However, I think she has checked out long time ago, and you are her meal ticket until the next attraction comes along. If you are re-signed to stay with her, you'll show a broken man without self-respect and no respect from wayward spouse. This is what the kids will learn, and that is not good. You can separate and still show a great deal of positivity, or at least you can. Depending on your financial circumstances, maybe you can send the autistic kid for some therapy, whilst you read and watch clips to help you with your own therapy. The fact she had the audacity to come back to you, shows the real level of respect she had for you, that is -%, and she knows you will crumble. Do what is best for you, and hard as it may sound. Because then you can be there for the kids. Try and expedite the divorce with your lawyer, so you can start ASAP. Stay firm for you and the kids. Just to give some context, the other day a woman posted on Surviving My Infidelity, where she complained about her son cheating and breaking up a girl's relationship with her boyfriend. When she tried to tell him off, he just pointed out to her own infidelities and asked her to mind her own business, as he never said anything back then. The point I want to make is that, kids will learn a lot from their parents, and it seems that cheating comes naturally for your wayward spouse. So that is not a good environment for you to bring up the kids. Now for the last story. Sister, 24, cheated on her husband, 24, and I'm weirdly torn. So this post will be a little different since I'm not the one who was directly cheated on. For some background, I have a twin sister who we will call Elle, and a childhood friend of both of ours named Brian. Growing up, my sister and I were always inseparable from each other and our best friend Brian. We've known Brian since the 2nd grade and have always been super close. Elle and Brian have always had sort of a romantic connection that was cute. During college, they got together and started dating, we graduated and they moved in together, and eventually get married, no kids. Since I am a third party, I won't go fully into deep details with how she cheated, simply because I wasn't there. But for a brief synopsis, she fell in love with someone she was working with and cheated, and felt that she was more of a man and lover than Brian. They got a quick divorce and then she moved in with his co-worker. Did I also mention that this co-worker lives in the same apartment building as Brian and her? So now he has to see his ex-wife and the man who took her, many times throughout the week. My problem is that, we were all so close to Brian. He loved her with every ounce of his soul and provided and cared for her. Not to mention the fact that he's been loving her since high school. When I asked Al if he did anything to provoke her to cheat, I know there's no good excuse, but for my twin, I was trying to find one, but she never once faulted him. She simply would make comments about how her coworker is so much better than him, and that Brian was half the man he was. I argued with her once because I was completely shocked and disgusted by her actions, but try not to anymore, because in reality, it's not my relationship or my life. But I've lately been finding myself furious at her, and even felt some hatred. This girl is my twin, was the nicest person in the world, and she ended up cheating on and tormenting the daily life of someone who has been such a beacon of light in our lives, with such little remorse. Our parents are furious at her too. Our mom is extremely disappointed and our dad is heartbroken. He's mostly heartbroken because of the fact that Brian never had a dad growing up, and since our dad never had a son, Brian was kind of like the son he never had. He's known him for his entire childhood, and gave him advice and help that his own father couldn't. I came here because I didn't know where else to go, but I came here to ask how I can get over this. I have such negative feelings about my sister right now, and I want to rid myself of it, because at the end of the day, it isn't my relationship or my life. Something inside of me bursts into fire every time I even think of her. Should I talk to her again? Should I just distance myself from her until my feelings pass? I have no idea what to do. Now for the top advice. I may be out of line, but simply because your sister cheated on Brian, doesn't mean you need to cut him out of your life. Nor do your parents. Insofar as your sister? First, realize, you are not her. You may look alike, but obviously there are significant differences. Second, you are going to see your sister again. Family get-togethers, whatever. Figure out how to deal with that, counseling, and move forward. Finally, the karma train is silent and merciless. I recommend you not be anywhere near your sister when it impacts. Yeah, I haven't reached out yet because I felt that it wasn't my place. I know my parents have reached out, so I may do the same. And yeah, I know I'm not her. That's actually the reason I was so confused about it all. I don't want to feel terrible animosity, because at the end of the day, it's her life and her decisions. But even when I try to think logically like that, it's hard to erase the terrible feelings I have towards her right now. Thanks for the response, I needed it. Bang Brian and tell your sister. Not gonna lie, this made me laugh and I needed it. I think once you accept that your sister is a morally bad person, it gets easier. You can go back to loving your sister who makes bad decisions, instead of trying to find the perfect sister who doesn't exist anymore. Give up the idea of your sister who you once knew, and accept this new one. Just be wary to not put yourself in a position where she could betray/turn on you. You see what she did to her husband, and that could be an indicator of something selfish she would do that would hurt you. She has no remorse because she's happy, for now. As for Brian, talk to him, but don't force yourself into his life. Reach out every so often, and let him know the family still supports/welcomes him. He deserves a semblance of a support system for the time being. That's actually a great point, because I desperately try to find the girl I grew up with, which fuels my anger towards her more. And I've told a few times to contact him, so I'll do that soon. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.